21-year-old Millicent was a college student. Despite her seemingly bright appearance, she had a terrible past. She was an orphan who had been passed around between different foster families. Even worse, every foster father treated her as an object for abuse. The continuous trauma destroyed Millicent's mental world, and she developed serious psychological problems. On the bus, when she saw a mother breastfeeding, she couldn't help wanting to taste it too. Whenever a strange man stood behind her, she would automatically start fantasizing about inappropriate things. After snapping back to reality, Millicent awkwardly rushed off the bus. That's when the medicine her doctor prescribed came in handy. Just one drop in her mouth would quickly calm her racing heart. However, this medicine had serious side effects. If she took too much, it would cause even worse hallucinations. So this medicine was both Millicent's salvation and her prison. Her therapist was even worse, a disgusting predator in disguise. Every time Millicent came for treatment, he would use massage as an excuse to touch her inappropriately. Millicent was too afraid to speak up or fight back. Over time, her mind became more and more twisted. Millicent had to drop out of school. To survive, she applied for a nanny job. She would be taking care of a little boy named Johnny. This child had a very special condition. He was allergic to metal, animals, and many other things, so his mother, Rebecca, had to make him wear a protective suit. Johnny also had severe autism and was very cold towards strangers. But strangely, he was very friendly to Millicent on their first meeting. He even wrote down a greeting and made physical contact with her willingly. Just like that, Millicent got the job. While Rebecca was telling her the important details, Millicent noticed a shirtless man in the yard. His strong build mesmerized Millicent, who had always lacked a sense of security. Rebecca didn't notice Millicent's little crush. She explained that her work would keep her very busy, so she was counting on Millicent to handle things at home. Then the man walked into the house. His name was Evan, Rebecca's husband. Facing the new nanny, he showed no shame at all, staying shirtless. He even wanted to get intimate with Rebecca right in front of Millicent. Rebecca calmly refused her husband, clearly used to Evan's inappropriate behavior. This embarrassing moment also sparked strange feelings in Millicent. When she got home, she looked at herself in the mirror over and over, unable to control her excitement. Above her head was a ceiling fan, and on top of the fan was a notebook. Millicent carefully took it down like it was a treasure. Whenever she felt happy, she would take it out and look at what was inside, though we don't know what was written there yet. But as soon as she opened it this time, she heard her foster father's voice from downstairs. She put the notebook back in its hiding place and went to talk to him about her nanny job. From their conversation, we learned that their relationship went beyond normal foster parent and child boundaries. The foster father didn't want Millicent to go to work. Millicent was sick of this old man. He had only taken her in with dirty intentions from the start. So Millicent always wanted to escape from him. She knew she needed to learn to support herself first. Despite the foster father's desperate begging, Millicent didn't back down. Early the next morning, Millicent arrived at Rebecca's house. But on her very first day of work, she discovered Johnny's little secret. Rebecca had said before that Johnny was allergic to small animals, but that didn't seem to be true. Johnny dug up a dead animal from a bucket. This rabbit had been killed by Johnny himself. When Millicent learned all this, she wasn't scared at all. Instead, she felt excited, as if she had found someone like herself. Millicent realized this little guy was unusual. She took a knife and cut off the rabbit's tail, giving it to Johnny as a gift. This shared appreciation for dark things became the bond connecting their feelings, and it also set the stage for the tragic events to come. Soon it was time to go home. In the bathroom, Millicent found something interesting. She picked it up and saw it was Rebecca's dirty laundry, a bra and a skirt. Rebecca never wore clothes like these. Out of curiosity, without any disgust, she put the clothes on herself. They looked pretty good on her. Then she grabbed Evan's photo and stuffed it inside the dress. Don't ask what she wanted to do. She'd tell you later. After doing all this, Millicent couldn't wait to get home. She turned on music, put drops of her medicine in her mouth, and as the room started spinning, she held Evan's photo and began hallucinating. In her false world, Evan fell in love with her and even killed Rebecca. As the saying goes, what you think about during the day, you dream about at night. This was Millicent's true desire. She wanted to replace Rebecca and become Evan's wife. She longed to have a complete family. Millicent started dressing herself up and put the stolen dress in a dye bucket. Before long, she had a newly colored dress ready. In the following days, Millicent spent every day with Johnny, and their bond grew deeper. During this time, she kept looking for chances to be alone with Evan. By coincidence, she overheard a phone call between Evan and Rebecca. Because of work, Rebecca would be home very late, and today happened to be Johnny's birthday. That evening, Millicent didn't go home. She stayed to celebrate the birthday. The group looked so happy together, like a family of three. This was the life Millicent had always dreamed of. After eating their fill, Millicent put Johnny to bed early, ready to make her move with Evan. But at that critical moment, Johnny suddenly walked out and interrupted them. Millicent's plan failed, but the seed of desire had been planted and would eventually grow. Not long after, Rebecca came home from working overtime at the office. Looking at her sleeping son, she felt very guilty. Here, Rebecca said something strange. She slowly approached her son, careful not to wake him. Only when her son was asleep could she experience hugging him. But unexpectedly, Johnny woke up anyway. Without saying a word, he slapped her across the face and kicked his mother out of the room. Actually, Rebecca had hidden something from Millicent. Johnny had a serious violent streak. The closer he got to someone, the more he would hurt them. Johnny used to love rabbits, but now the rabbit was dead, killed by Johnny's own hands. Her son's strange personality troubled Rebecca greatly. Because of this, she developed a very bad habit, self-harm. Sometimes hurting herself wasn't enough, so she would have Evan abuse her too. Only this way could she soothe her painful soul. At this point, you might think this is exaggerated. Even if her son had violent tendencies, she wouldn't torture herself like this, right? But when the truth finally comes out, you'll understand. Everything was deserved. One day, Millicent took Johnny to the park. Johnny's outfit drew stares and whispers from people passing by. Johnny kept his head down, not daring to make eye contact with anyone. But right at that moment, a couple nearby started arguing loudly. Johnny had never seen anything like this before, and his emotions spiraled out of control immediately. This worried Millicent sick, because Rebecca had forbidden Johnny from going outside. Millicent had secretly brought him out. Under Millicent's comfort, Johnny's emotions gradually calmed down. Through these small moments, their relationship grew even stronger. Getting close to the child was just Millicent's first step. But what she never expected was that this very step would make her pay a terrible price. Rebecca wanted to cut her son's hair, but Johnny completely ignored her. However, when Millicent picked up the scissors, he sat still like a good boy. Even when Rebecca handed him a toy, he turned to ask Millicent's opinion first. Not gonna lie, this made Millicent very satisfied, but it also made Rebecca angry. This was her son. Why was he acting like Millicent had given birth to him? What happened next made Rebecca even more furious. She just touched her son and he bit her hard. This made Millicent think the time was right, so she made a crazy decision. When Evan and Rebecca weren't home, she gave Johnny her medicine. She foolishly believed this would help Johnny see the world clearly and accept her as family. The two of them completely let loose. They freed themselves. In their fake world, Millicent became Johnny's protector, and their relationship grew even closer. Johnny didn't even wear his protective suit when he followed Millicent outside. But the strange thing was, Johnny didn't have any allergic reactions at all. In other words, what Rebecca said before was a lie. Johnny never had any allergies. But on the way home, they were almost hit by a car. What's more, this car belonged to Evan. Seeing her son brought outside without any protection, Rebecca was furious. Before she could blame Millicent, she was about to take her son home right away. But at that moment, Johnny suddenly called out, "Mama." Rebecca was stunned. She was so happy. That was the word she had always dreamed of hearing. But she quickly realized something was wrong. The word "mama" wasn't directed at her, but at the confused Millicent. Rebecca was completely dumbfounded. This was her son, and he was calling someone else mama. Intense jealousy burned in her heart. Rebecca fired Millicent. She took Johnny home and demanded to know who his mother was. "You ungrateful child! I carried you for 9 months and gave birth to you, and you call someone else mama." But Johnny returned to his usual silence and didn't answer any questions. Rebecca didn't see that her son had a creepy smile on his face. Meanwhile, Evan drove Millicent home. About being fired by Rebecca, Millicent felt devastated. Luckily, Evan knew how to comfort people. He said no one was firing her and she could keep working. This gave Millicent hope, and she was overwhelmed with emotion. In that small space, the two of them crossed the final line. After who knows how long, an exhausted Millicent returned home. Her foster father had been waiting for a long time. He was very angry about Millicent coming and going at all hours, but Millicent stayed calm. She gently comforted her foster father. She knew that to completely say goodbye to her past, this man was the biggest obstacle. When the foster father wasn't paying attention, Millicent grabbed a belt and wrapped it around his neck. Soon the foster father fell to the ground without breathing, but even so, Millicent didn't stop. When it was over, she took scissors and cut off a lock of the foster father's hair. At this moment, the contents of that notebook were finally revealed. It recorded all her previous foster fathers. From Millicent's expression, it wasn't hard to guess that they were all dead. These people had all abused Millicent. She just wanted to find a normal family to live with, but now they had driven her to become a psychopath. The next morning, Millicent went to work as usual. She was in a good mood because she had finally crossed that final line with Evan. But when she arrived at the front door, she saw Rebecca talking to a therapist. What a coincidence. This guy was also Johnny's doctor. Hearing them discussing her, Millicent had a bad feeling. Her identity was probably about to be exposed. If Evan found out she had mental illness, everything would fall apart. So she decided to go all in. She used the most ruthless method. This disgusting predator in disguise became the next victim. The film didn't show how Millicent did it, but judging by how the therapist died, it was probably from poisoning. Having eliminated 2 lives this year, Millicent's expression showed no change. She continued working as if nothing had happened. To prevent any more problems, Millicent decided to act quickly. She secretly found Johnny. At this moment, Millicent was truly vicious. She actually wanted Johnny to kill his mother. And to make sure Evan would be on her side, Millicent got intimate with him in the yard again. She thought her plan was foolproof, but would things really go as she wished? That morning, Rebecca was drawing with her son. She noticed everything he drew was related to Millicent. Rebecca couldn't hold it in anymore. She was furious and swore to kick Millicent out. So when Millicent came to work, Rebecca blocked her at the door. Earlier, because of Evan's pleading, Rebecca hadn't made a big deal of it, but this time she wouldn't compromise no matter what. A fierce argument broke out. Millicent completely lost her mind, but she didn't keep fighting with Rebecca. Instead, she turned and left the house. Johnny saw the whole thing. This was exactly what Rebecca intended. She wanted her son to know who truly loved him most. She could do anything for her son, even if it meant becoming a shrew. At that moment, Rebecca didn't see that Johnny was holding a knife. As soon as she sat down, her son struck. Rebecca endured the pain and pulled out the knife. Instinctively, she grabbed Johnny's neck, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to hurt him. Rebecca knew this must have been Millicent's doing. That woman had actually tried to get her son to kill her. Meanwhile, Millicent hadn't left. She found Evan at work, but what she never expected was that Evan had no intention of being with her at all. Everything before was just a fling. While they were arguing, Rebecca came charging in with a knife. Millicent ran out in pain and happened to run into Johnny, who had come out after hearing the noise. Millicent quickly begged him for help. She naively thought that this boy who had shared secrets with her and relied on her would never let her get hurt. But Millicent was wrong, dead wrong. Johnny showed a creepy smile, then picked up a knife and stabbed her. Evan and Rebecca just watched quietly. Their faces showed no shock, no panic, only deep exhaustion and numbness. Then Evan silently cleaned up the scene. Those familiar movements showed the couple had gotten used to this. In the end, Millicent was buried in the yard. What was even more terrifying was that in this small yard, several other bodies were also buried. They were Johnny's previous nannies. Actually, Evan and Rebecca had known about their son's true nature all along. They kept hiring nannies not to take care of their son, but to satisfy his violent urges. Johnny, like Millicent, also suffered from severe mental illness. But unlike Millicent, medicine had no effect on Johnny. He could only ease his symptoms through killing. Before each attack, he would develop deep feelings for his victim. The deeper the feelings, the more satisfying the kill. The reason Johnny showed that creepy smile earlier was exactly this. He had found the perfect prey. Compared to previous victims, Millicent was the one who satisfied him most. You really couldn't blame Rebecca for being jealous because Millicent was just too good at manipulating her son's heart. She was afraid of losing her son because of this. In this film, there wasn't a single good person. Because of her childhood trauma, Millicent desperately wanted a perfect family. This deep-rooted obsession made her a slave to her desires. She thought she could control everything, not knowing that everything was already part of someone else's plan. She thought she was a wolf entering a sheep pen, but in the end, she discovered she was just a lamb walking into a wolf's den. Evan and Rebecca were even more evil. Out of their twisted love for their son, not only did they fail to stop all this, they actually helped their son find prey. The reason Rebecca often hurt herself was probably to atone for her son's sins. This was the only way she could bear the horror. Although at the end of the story they didn't pay any price, justice will eventually come. Their horrible actions had already sealed their fate. The biggest evil in the film was undoubtedly Johnny. This seemingly harmless child was the most terrifying presence in this family. Because of his mental illness, he didn't hesitate to take other people's lives to ease his symptoms, and the real culprits behind all this were his parents. If Evan and Rebecca hadn't chosen to run away from the problem but had instead actively tried to solve it, perhaps none of this would have happened. The parents' excessive indulgence was the main force pushing him into the abyss. When everyone is wrapped up in greed, trauma, and desire, no one is the real winner. The so-called opportunities were just bait leading to painful destruction. Trauma doesn't disappear on its own. Running away only lets the pain spread wildly. Only by facing our trauma, daring to challenge it, and holding on to our moral boundaries can we avoid falling into a bottomless pit. And that's where the story ends. I hope you like this movie explanation. Please make sure to subscribe my channel for such more interesting videos. Also make sure to like my video to appreciate my work. See you soon in another video.